God didn't call you because you were ready. He called you because he planned to make you ready. And those are two completely different things. Confusing them may be the exact reason why you feel stuck right now. Because here's what I've been learning. Being chosen is God's decision, and being ready is your decision. That part is yours. And today I want to dive into the difference between the two, what readiness actually looks like in the kingdom, and why the women God used in the Bible were not ready, even though it did not make absolutely any sense. And it didn't make sense to anyone around them, including themselves. And stay with me, because I believe by the end of this that something is going to shift in how you are seeing your season right now. I want to start off by naming something that a lot of us carry, but we don't necessarily have the words for. It's the feeling that you know that God has placed something on your life, whether it be a calling or a vision, an assignment, but we're not feeling like we are there yet. Like there's this weird gap between who you are right now and the person that you need to become and the person that you've seen in that calling, in that vision. And in that gap, some of us strive, some of us wait, and some of us just decide to shrink back entirely because we just don't believe that it's ever going to happen. Or we even feel like maybe we heard it all wrong. Today, I want to give you 3 things that will completely reframe how you see that gap, because I personally don't think the gap is the problem. I think it's the point. Here's the first thing that I want you to understand. Being chosen and ready are not the same moment. They are not even in the same category. Being chosen is God's decision. God says in Jeremiah 1:5, this already happened before we were born. Before we were formed in our mother's womb, God set us apart. That choosing was sovereign. It was already complete before you even had a single opinion about it. And there's absolutely nothing that you can do in this life that can take away from that. Now, being ready, that's a completely different ballpark, because being ready is not something that God just drops on you while you're sleeping peacefully at night. It's something that is built over time. It's cultivated. It's a result of what you've been stewarding until you can become the person who can steward more. And this is where a lot of us get stuck. We tend to treat being chosen equivalent to being ready. We treat the moment like it's the same thing. Like we treat it as if it's something that God does to us. So we wait. We wait until we feel ready. We wait for the confidence to come. We find all of these excuses to wait. And meanwhile, all this time while we're still waiting, God has already said and confirmed what it is that he has called us to do. And that call that he gave us is just sitting there collecting dust. All because we confuse the moment of being chosen versus the moment of being ready. These are 2 different moments, and almost always between the 2 of these, there's a building season in between them. The season is not a delay, but it's preparation. So the next question you may ask is, so if readiness isn't a feeling of being confident, fearless, or fully equipped, then what exactly is it? I personally have been sitting with this question for a while now. And what I'm learning is that kingdom readiness looks less like certainty and more like stewardship. It looks like faith with what we already have put in front of us, what is already put in our hand. It looks like the skill that you have been building and you haven't even been able to see or understand how and why and where everything fully connects. I don't know about you, but I can totally say that just from experience, this lesson has come to me, because there's so much that I've been learning, and at moments feeling like I've moved ahead of God, but at the same time needed to get drawn back to walk alongside with him and not seeing how everything connects in the dots. And now I can sit here and say that it makes sense. It looks like the structure and the systems that you've been putting in place when God moves, there's something ready to hold it. I talked about this in a recent video. Stewardship, skills, and systems, these are the 3 things that we need in order for that breakthrough moment to come. And the reason I keep falling back on those 3 and I stand so strong on them is because those are the foundation and the architecture of readiness. And here's what I need you to hear. Fear is not the opposite of being ready. Okay? Fear has always coexisted with the people in the Bible that God has called. We have Moses who told God that he couldn't speak. We have Gideon who told the angel that he was the very least of his family. Jeremiah told God he was too young. And in every single case, God did not respond and say, well, we'll get rid of the fear first and then we'll walk. No, his response was, I am with you. Go. Do not be afraid. The fear does not have to leave before you begin to move, because the calling that God has on your life is way bigger than the fear. And readiness in the kingdom is not the absence of one, but the presence of the other. I want to take 3 women in scripture just for a moment, because I think each of these women have something to say to the woman who is listening to this right now, and to the woman who feels like she just doesn't qualify. For starters, we have Esther. Esther was an orphan. She was a minority woman that was living in this foreign kingdom. She didn't even apply for the positions. She didn't have a strategy, a platform, a 5-year plan. She had a cousin who simply loved her and a God who was working behind every circumstance that she could not see. And when the moment came, she was faced with the most consequential decision of her life, and she was terrified. So what did Esther do? She fasted for 3 days. Then she moved. And Mordecai casually just said to her, who knows? Perhaps you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Not you're ready to step forward. Perhaps for such a time as this. It's literally the most powerful part in the entire book. The calling was bigger than her certainty. Next, we have Ruth. She was a widow. She also was a foreigner. She was from a culture where your worth was measured by your husband and your heritage, and she didn't have neither. By every external measure, she should have gone back to her own people and started over. But she chose to be faithful over doing the logical things. She stayed with Naomi. She gleaned the fields. She stewarded the small, ordinary, unglamorous space that she was in at that time. And that faithfulness is what positioned her for a redemption that she could have never even imagined. Not only could she not have imagined it, but she could not and would not have been able to allow that to come to pass all on her own. And then we have Mary, a young girl in a small town with no influence, no credentials, no platform. And God chose her to carry the very thing that would change the entire world. God chose her. And her response was not, I'm not ready, I'm not qualified. Well, how? No. What the very thing Mary did is the very thing that we need to also follow and do as well. Mary responded and said, let it be done according to your word. Kingdom readiness looks like surrender before certainty, surrender before trying to figure out how, being obedient before understanding, making the move before trying to piece it all together. None of these women that I just mentioned were ready by the world standard, but all of them were faithful in the small spaces that they were occupying and stewarding at the time. And that faithfulness was the only qualification that God required of them. Philippians 1:6 says this, he who began a good work in you will carry it into completion. He who began. That means that God has started something in you. The choosing has already happened. The work is already in motion. And God has committed to see you through to completion. Our job is not to manufacture the readiness. Our job is to steward what is in our hands right now. What material do we have in front of us? The very thing that God is calling us to. God won't call us to set out our will if we didn't already have the material in front of us. And if you need the resources, aka the money to get those things, your excuse cannot be, I need the money to get it, because 9 times out of 10, he's giving you the tool. It's about the priority that you're making to be able to start moving in where he's called you. Build that skill that God is calling you to build. Just show up in the small space that you're currently in right now. And to surrender to the process of becoming the woman who can carry what he's preparing to release. You were not called because you were ready. You were called because he is faithful, sis. He is faithful. And the season that you're in right now, that is not the waiting room. And in a different video, we will go over how we have to stop mislabeling I'm just waiting on the Lord, waiting on the Lord. Girl, he done already told you. He told you 3 times. He done told you 3, 4 times, and he ain't gonna tell you again. It's not a waiting room, sis. It's more like a workshop. Let God prepare you. Let him mold you and be who you need to be to sustain where he's called you to. I hope this has encouraged you. Don't leave here the same way you came in, and may you overflow and pour into others. Until next time, God bless.